What's the point of all these beautiful open worlds if the journey will look like this? Fast travel. Almost every single game has it, and almost every single game makes it boring. But it doesn't have to be. Fast travel exists for one reason: convenience. And that's fine. These open world games can get ridiculously huge, and there should be an efficient way to save time between quest objectives. The problem is that most games treat it as teleportation. You open the menu, click a destination, watch a loading screen, and there you go. You skip the entire journey to arrive safe and sound at your destination. However, there is an obvious counterpoint here. If you don't like fast travel, why not just not use it? And that can be a choice. Most of older Bethesda games do benefit from traversing through the world, as the unique encounters are more random, they are not scripted. The most odd things can happen in the most odd spot, which makes this game special.
It's all over, lawbreaker! Your spree is at an end.
And despite loving these moments, sometimes you just really don't have the time for an hour-long hike to return a quest. Most modern open-world games are not meant to be played this way. They are intentionally designed to use fast travel. At some point, riding across the map just gets stale, despite how beautiful the world is. In most cases, if you traverse there once, you already seen it all. Most of the encounters in these games are scripted, and once you've dealt with them, you know what to expect when you're back. So yes, fast travel is needed. The question is, what kind? Most games use checkpoints to allow you to fast travel. Checkpoints can be shrines, signposts, cities. Once you uncover them, you can freely travel between them without any concern. That's how most modern games do it, and I found that to be boring. As essentially just a gamified way to access different areas that allows teleportation after interacting with in-game menus and loading screens. Teleportation works just because of your actions as a player outside of the game, and not due to how the world works. Geralt, for example, doesn't have the in-game power to teleport, and his character on its own really dislikes doing it. But we as players were used to doing it all the time.
I hate portals.
I think fast travel had to become a thing once games, especially RPG worlds, started to become enormously large. If there was one game that wanted to shock players by its size, it was World of Warcraft. If you ever played Vanilla WoW or the so-called classic, do you remember this feeling when you're about to get on your first flight? Especially the one from Stormwind to Ironforge. You get to see this whole Lord of the Rings-like scenic route of this massive landscape while there are other players out there. This moment when you realize the sheer scope of the world. No loading screens, all just traveling from point A to point B in real living world. And that was amazing. As you progress further through the game, you get to know all the game areas and recognize them well. You learn all the possible routes in and out, where the settlements are, airships, metro. There was no easily accessible fast travel, with the exception of once an hour Hearthstone to bring you home. Sure, it eventually got tedious. There is a reason why so many mage players used to sell portals in the main cities, and that reason is convenience. No matter how wonderful the scenic path is, fast travel is needed. The question is, how can you preserve the sense of adventure while still giving the player convenience? Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that wants you to see the amount of detail the developers put into the world. It has slow and very detailed animations that force you to slow down. Want to skin an animal, loot an enemy, or even saddle a horse? It takes time, but the game rewards the patience with its attention to details. The world is alive like no other game. When I played the game for the first time, I rode a horse between almost every single mission objective. I love how the game has the cinematic camera mode for long horse rides. The horses alone are more detailed than entire games. It's a beautiful game, but the distance are no joke. And when I wanted to shorten the route, I will use trains and stagecoaches, which can also be robbed, so it adds a whole other level of interaction with them. It's a very immersive transportation system, and it's fun to engage with. However, later on I found out that there is a much more straightforward and simpler fast travel option, the map upgrade in Arthur's Stand. It gets you back to the old same checkpoint style of teleportation. Now you can set up a camp out in the wilderness and travel from it wherever settlement you discovered before, as well as traveling from the main camp. And I think once you spot it, it's hard not to use it, especially if you're hunting and got a pelt you want to bring back. This way you won't have to risk getting ambushed on the road. I caught myself using this fast travel from time to time due to convenience, but it always felt like cheating.
Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming.
One of my favorite games with transportation as fast travel is Morrowind. This is a game that forces you to read directions as there are no quest markers. You literally have to guess by the quest direction where to go, what to look for, and estimate how to get there. In one of the first quests in the game you have an option: walk across the land, going into a node by following signs on the road, or pay for a Seal Strider. Seal Striders are giant bug-like creatures domesticated by Dunmer, the so-called Dark Elves of Morrowind. They're used for shipments and civil transport, each operated by a caravaneer who you can pay for a ride. Sometimes the caravaneer might have extended dialogue options, can share concerns about the cities, areas and surroundings. There is even a possibility to lower the fare by doing successful admiration or bribe checks. Field Striders have a whole transportation route designed. It affects how long it takes to get to the station in hours, as well as how much it will cost. What I think it makes these creatures so special is how alien they look. Overall, Morrowind stands out so much in comparison to any fantasy game with its alien odd vibe that is hard to forget. Its fast travel transportation feels like part of the world, not a menu option. And if we're talking about alien-like insect creatures used for fast travel, one game comes to mind. Hollow Knight is a very unique game. It's a 2D platformer and also it's a Metroidvania Souls-like. But what makes the game stand out so much is the stylistically dark, underground world. The characters speak in a weird language, the music, the hand-drawn design. It's a beautiful game. The game checkpoints are very similar to a Souls-like game. However, instead of letting you fast travel from one batch to another, there is a whole stagway tunnel system to be discovered. In each area there is a stagway station. It is operated by the last stag, a large stag beetle that appears to be the last of his kind. Once you uncover nearby stations, you can unlock the tunnel network and use it to fast travel between areas. The last stag on its own is a unique character. Just its name tells a lot about how Hollow Knight's setting is, the once long ago ruins of the kingdom Hollow Nest. There is not much left of its former glory, just relics of the past, as well as entire species are gone and the last stag appears to be one of them. He also shares a little about each location you visit, provides lore details, and overall gives the sense that there was something great that used to be here, but now it's lost. All these examples use actual in-world transportation, but there is another approach that's been around since the early days of CRPGs. If you think about CRPGs like Fallout, Wasteland, or even Pillars of Eternity, there are locations and between them there is a virtual layer of the map. When you leave a location or select the map, you're traveling on into the next location. The map acts as the connecting tissue, the world itself between the important points. As RPGs grew, production scopes got larger and open worlds appeared, they didn't need this virtualization anymore. Starfield is a game that promised an unprecedented world, an entire galaxy, thousands of solar systems, and the promise was delivered, just not in the way that was expected. Starfield has the most brutal fast travel I've ever seen. On paper, I should love it, there is a ship, you adventure and need a massive galaxy to explore, but the world is essentially a map with endless menus and loading screens. Get out from a planet? Loading screen. Find a system? Loading screen. Find a planet? Loading screen. That's the travel. And at some point I had a revelation. This is a game that pretends to be an open world, but its traversal is actually just poorly hidden map virtualization. What you're traveling is the map that connects multiple levels, similar to older Fallout. Just instead of a simple map with an icon moving on it, the game tried to mask it under solar systems, arenas, where you fast travel from planet to planet. It's a game from a studio known for some of the best open worlds ever made, whose entire massive galaxy got reduced to an endless series of loading screens. However, there is one game that I think found the closest balance of map travel, presentation, being an actual open world, and fast travel. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a medieval RPG heavily focused on immersion. You have to eat, otherwise you die of hunger, and it better be fresh produce. Spoiled food will make you sick, which can also kill you. You even have to bathe, otherwise NPCs won't talk to you. Henry, the protagonist, is a peasant. He's not a knight, master assassin or dragonborn.
What do you want? Come here. What do you want? Just to wish you a good day.
Every encounter can be deadly for him. Thieves, gang, militia, humans, the woods are full of threats. And if you die, there is a real risk of losing progress if you didn't plan your saves well. You need savior snaps, an in-game item to manually save. The thing is, usually in a normal RPG or open world game, all that danger is avoidable with fast travel. Not here. fast travel happens on the map, with a twist. Despite being visually just a map, it's a virtual layer that speeds up Henry getting from one spot to another, and if there is a random encounter or danger out in the woods, it will happen during the fast travel. And what's really impressive is that this encounter is actually there if you travel normally without using fast travel at all. So yes, KCD2 has quality of life improvements, but the actual danger and encounters that you'd skip in a normal open world game are still here. Fast travel is not a way to avoid them. The larger the games grow, the more fast travel mechanics are expected. No matter what, convenience will prevail. But it doesn't have to be boring. The best fast travel moves you through the world, not around it. It doesn't have to be the moment where you stop playing the game to skip to the next bit. Even with KCD2 map, your character is still moving through danger. The encounters, the status effect, the risk, it's all still there. It doesn't feel like cheating or like teleportation. Fast travel can be part of the experience. At the end of the day, everyone remembers the journey. No one remembers the loading screen.